We are delighted to have here on the show Chris Hughton, the former Republic of Ireland and Ghana head coach, to talk us through all things World Cup. Troy's here as usual. We're glad to have your company as well. And I would suppose, Chris, the first place to start is with, how's your World Cup so far?
Enjoying it, watching as much as I can, but I'm not obsessed to the extent where I'm staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning or recording and watching all hours of the day. So I'm working it around the schedules, but so far, enjoying it. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? Because Troy, are you the same? Are you unable to stay up as long as
what I'm
Chris
trying
is?
to say, because I'm quite old as well, yeah. Well, I managed to stay up for the South Korean game on the first night. Andros was commentating during that game, so it was difficult to stay up till 5 a.m. in the morning. But I've caught a couple of games till 2. Tried to stay up for the Iran-New Zealand game, but flagged out. But it's
some sharp commitment. That.
But you know what? It's I don't mind the timings, as long as we can catch up. If you want to catch up on the game, and I did on that game, and there was some incredible goals. It seemed like a really action-packed game, and I've enjoyed it as much as what Chris said. I've enjoyed the World Cup so far.
Right, well, we want you to get in touch with your questions and your comments for Chris. It's very rare to have someone of Chris's stature and experience and knowledge in the game, so we will ask him a few questions on your behalf. What's quite interesting about what you have both been saying is that your experience is the experience of many people, in so much as there hasn't quite been that excitement that there has been in yesteryear around the World Cup, where it would take over. And I think part of that isn't necessarily the fault of the tournament. Part of that maybe is the fact that there's so much social media, there is so many other things going on, and obviously the timings, which have always been, when you have a continental World Cup, it's always difficult with the time differences as well.
I think it's a combination of all of those things. I think pre-tournament, obviously there was some bad press,
yes,
like, ticket and travel and visas and all the things that come with that, and I suppose even some of the political stuff. I think adding to that, a lot more teams. So adding to that, I suppose, and I say this in respect to those nations, but some games that perhaps wouldn't be as popular for those that are very much in between, that are not the fanatics. But I think as soon as you get the good games, so as soon as you get a game that you've enjoyed watching, and I don't think there's anybody that wouldn't have enjoyed the Cape Verde game. For what it meant, maybe the game itself and the technical parts of the game or so, but for what it meant, and I think a lot of people now are tuning into, the smaller nations,
yes,
as such, and I think really appreciating the fact that they're there, what it means to that nation. And of course the quality of some of the bigger games. So I think we are now going into maybe a little bit of a different stage now, where I think some of them things I spoke about are now going a little bit on the back burner, and I think we're starting to maybe, and if it's very early stages. When you think there are some games, some teams that still
haven't played yet,
that we'll speak about, that haven't played yet. So.
Well, on one of our other shows, we talked about the question of whether you prefer a 48-team or a 32-team World Cup. I quite like the bigger World Cup. I think it gives legitimacy to this whole idea that it really is a World Cup. The more teams, the better. And we're seeing that the quality is there in some of the smaller nations. The technical ability of the Curacao players, the defensive awareness of the Cape Verde players, that quality is there, and we're starting to be educated as a footballing public, aren't we?
And I think also, I think that by the time we finish this World Cup, I think for those that thought, well, 32 is enough, it shouldn't be 48, I think we'll think different.
Yeah.
For somebody like myself that, of course, has managed one of the African teams, there are more African nations now in in the World Cup, which certainly if you are African and you're one of these the African countries, what you are saying is that that's well overdue.
Yes.
You know, considering how many teams would have come from Europe into this World Cup. So, so for me, the fact that they've opened it out, I'm seeing the reasons why now. And
Are you a fan of that?
I am now, yes. Initially, I wasn't so sure. But I think, again, going back, I think it's more African teams now in the tournament. And I think we will probably know come the end of this World Cup, because obviously it's longer and there's so many games, and you're trying to remember some of these games. But I think I will be, yes.
Well, look, I've got loads of questions. I know Troy's got some questions as well. I'll start because you mentioned the African teams a couple of times now. So which of those teams do you think will do best?
Probably, if I had to say two, it would have been the finalists of the last African Cup of Nations. Morocco, because of their standing over a few years now, they've had huge investment. The players that are obviously playing in Europe, playing at some of the biggest clubs, but I think more so because their investment over a period of, and I can see Morocco going from strength to strength. Obviously, the next World Cup will be held partly in Morocco, and I think in African football they will continue to have a huge say.
Were you surprised, pleasantly surprised, negatively surprised by the fact that they dominated Brazil and actually looked like the better side?
No, probably no, because how I see Brazil is that it's not the Brazil I think of old. I think what they do have is that they have the areas of brilliance that can win games. But if I look at them as an entity and I look at them as a team, do I see them being as consistent as what they would have been perhaps in the past? No, I don't see that. And but what I see is that they can win any game. But I don't see them winning 1-0.
Now, this is a question for both of you, because I grew up on the '82 World Cup. So the Brazil team, or Socrates, Zico, Junior, Adair. And my big bugbear with the World Cup is that over the time, the originality and charisma, the samba, has been coached out of the Brazilian teams. And some people say that that's happening with the African teams as well. You've managed an African team. Is that fair? Is it true?
I think that's true to a degree, yes. Yeah, I think that's, if we spoke about Morocco, and I have to put Senegal in the same breath, because for me they've been outstanding, and of course Mane has had a big influence on that team and that culture, and I think if I look at my experiences in Ghana, one thing that was quite evident is that the nation wanted a Ghanaian team that was proud to be Ghanaian, that were proud to come home, that were proud of their families and their heritage, and so. But I think what is natural is that over a period of time, if we look back to the great Ghanaian players, a lot of them went back to Ghana. That was very much their upbringing, and there was that real connection. Unfortunately, there isn't that real close connection now that's if I'm talking about Ghanaians or Senegalese, will have with their players. Senegal, I think, is different because they've been successful, and as I said, I think Mane has a lot to do with that. But I think it's only natural. It's only natural that the more players that you have from a particular country that are playing in a different continent, that gap that sometimes gets that little bit bigger, and so I think it's something that is inevitable, but it's up to the nation, the powers to be, to try to.
What is the identity?
to try to cling on to as much as possible. And
Did you have players once saying that I don't really want to be rigid, I don't want to play flat back four, I want to step out from the back, I want to express myself, and how easy is that? Well, first of all, did you have that when you managed them?
No, but you won't get that anywhere, because when one thing that where the game is at the moment, you speak to any international player playing for an African team, South American team, European team, how the game is now, it is about the coach. Yeah. This is what the coach wants. So you are used to a system. So if you are a South American player, an African player, and you're playing in Europe, very much you're used to the system and the structure that your coach demands that you play. So it's very much about a way that the coach wants to play, and that has to be the case going into international football, because you've got a group of players that are playing all in different systems, different ways at their different clubs. So when you're coming together as a one, it is even more so about what the coach wants and a way that the coach wants to play.
And does that lose? I mean, Troy mentioned the word identity. I mean, I'm sure what you're driving at is that the Cameroon, for example, of 1990, they had an identity. The Nigerians, I remember Yekini and Amakachi and all those guys, they had that real fearless cavalier identity.
Darren, that Brazilian side that you mentioned of 82 was the greatest side never to win a World Cup. Yeah. And why was it? Because it was so easy on the eye. The players that they had, the structure, they had one thing missing in that Brazil side, and that was a real number 9. Serginho, I remember him, he was a player who was well, there you go. He was ostracised quite a lot. But but I look at a lot of these teams now, and whilst enjoying the football, I don't see a real focal point. And that's why I think the Haalands and the Kanes will do very well in this World Cup, because a lot of it is the centre-backs have got no one to mark. So they're looking at players that are dropping off into spaces that they just don't want to go. Whilst with a Haaland, we know what he's like, we know what he wants. And I think that the sides that have a true and respected number 9 will be the sides that do well in this tournament.
What do you think, Chris? Do you think this is going to be a number 9's World Cup?
I think the big problem is that there aren't enough.
There aren't enough, yeah.
And the way that maybe it's a little bit different at international football. I think because I think in club football, where you have a system, that you work on day in, day out, game in, game out, where if you are playing a false 9 or a system, you're playing that on a regular occurrence. So the players, whether they buy into it or not, they get used to it. They get used to playing. So you don't have that time at international football.
No.
So generally international football, you will have your number 9.
Yeah.
You will, and your number 9 generally will play as a number. I mean, we're seeing, of course, with England at the moment with Harry Kane. Now, Harry will play.
He will drop off a lot, won't he? Yeah.
He'll drop off. So, is that what the coach wants? Yes, because I think he wouldn't accept it if he didn't like it. But he also knows that's Harry Kane's.
Yeah, and the quality of who he is.
And that's how he's played, the success that he's had playing. But I think you'll see most international teams in this World Cup play with a recognised number 9.
So Sweden are doing it, aren't they? They've got Gyökeres and Isak.
Yep.
Even though Isak drags wide a lot, it's a threat of, is he a 9? Is he not a 9? But they've got a 9, and I think that's why they open the competition so well. So it'll be interesting to see.
And also 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a really good question, because I'm going to go for a couple of quick-fire questions, right? Very quick questions. And you can see if you can maybe give me a couple of quick-fire answers.
It's an easy game, this, Chris. It's a really easy game.
I hope we're on delay, by the way.
I didn't rehearse
that. I'm not very good at quick-fire questions. I'm a manager.
Yeah, exactly. You take your time, you analyse.
Who do you think will win the Golden Boot?
It's all right, we'll cut the silence out.
No,
These are
Harry Kane.
quick-ish fire questions.
Harry Kane.
Okay, no, fair enough. Which team's impressed you so far?
Cote d'Ivoire.
Why?
It's the best game that
Yeah.
I've seen so far. Cote d'Ivoire, Ecuador. I also liked Ecuador, who started the game
Yeah, yeah.
really,
Liverpool,
really,
didn't
really
they?
well.
Yeah,
I just think that they've got a really good balance of
Yeah.
obviously attacking players. It was really interesting to see Diamandi, who normally plays on the left, playing on the right. It was really interesting to see two wingers, right-footed,
Genuine, yeah.
a right-footed winger playing on the right-hand side, a left-footed winger playing on the left-hand
Never
side.
catch
Even though they changed, but I just thought defensively they were very good when they had to settle back into a back four, back eight. They did a certain amount of aggression. Some of it they didn't control as well as what they will need to. But I just thought that they had a really good package of an 11 that worked hard for the team in and out of possession.
Okay. What's made you smile so far in this World Cup?
Cape Verde goalkeeper.
Yeah, look, great story.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic story. Out of interest, what is the last truly great World Cup you saw?
Oh, that's a question.
It's horrible, that. It's horrible.
I'm showing my age now.
He's older than you, don't worry.
I did, and obviously the old style videos. I had these videos for years. 1970 World Cup.
Carlos Alberto.
I remember for years and years,
Yeah.
I would watch that and watch that. For
Was
years
that
and
the
years.
one that made you fall in love with football?
No, I was in love with football before that, but probably because I still think Pele's the greatest player of all time.
Chris, now you're going to straddle generations here, but a lot of the younger generations have that recency bias. So they see Messi, Ronaldo, Lamine Yamal, and they say, Pele. Tell us why Pele is head and shoulders the best across any generation.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I for the generation thing, I understand, and the Messi thing, Ronaldo thing, I understand. But for me, is that he played in an era. He played in an era where defenders could get away with kicking you, and on numerous occasions, and they did, and almost kicked him off the park. The amount, so one of the arguments would be that he didn't play in Europe, and so, but to score the amount of goals that he did, the type of goals that he did, left foot, right foot, a little bit in some ways like Ronaldo, also prolific in the air, and I just think that the era that he played. So if you transfer the era to now, then of course. But I do understand the argument. But for me, I just think he's the best all-round player that I've ever seen that could score almost every type of goal
And create as well, yeah.
Was he a combination of Messi and Ronaldo? Or was he more like one than the other?
No, I think he was. If I'm looking at Messi is brilliance, technical, small, dribbling. So probably he is a mixture, but because Pele was powerful, and i.e. like Ronaldo, could jump. Very prolific in the air, strong, powerful, both size. So I think yes, probably is a combination of the two.
Which team have you seen so far? This is one for you that you think England would struggle to beat.
I'd like to think England will struggle to beat lots of teams.
Wouldn't struggle or would?
No, if you said to me, is there a team that I think England won't beat or wouldn't beat? No, I haven't seen a team that, because I think the what England have is strength in depth, and I think England playing in this World Cup, I don't think there's a question mark about the abilities that they have in the team. I think the question marks are, they haven't got what Spain have got, of what Argentina have got, and what France have got, is that they've been there,
Seen it,
done
done
it.
it, yeah.
They're ranked that high, and there's always that bit of prestige, poise, confidence that comes with that. I'm quite sure that England winning a World Cup would lead on to Euros, World Cup again.
A bit like Spain in the noughties when Spain won the Euros and then they won.
Absolutely. And if you're looking at eras, if you're looking at a Dutch era, if you're looking at a German era, Brazilian era, it's about getting that first
Getting
one,
over the line, isn't it?
Getting
Yeah.
over the line. Do England have the ability to do it? Of course they have. When you look at the squad, you know, it's only probably at this moment, if I'm looking at France, France been there and done it, and the quality that they've got.
You mentioned that squad, Chris, but it's a controversial squad, isn't it? He's picked players that he believes can get them there, whilst others believe that other players should have been in there.
Is that France?
Is that England? England,
Sorry,
sorry. Yeah. So do you think the squad is finally balanced, and he's picked the right players for
I think that the footprint is very much down to the manager. I think this is the manager saying is, you know, I'm not concerned too much about, to a degree, performance. Every manager wants to perform well and be easy on the eye and make the supporters happy. But I think this footprint says is that we've got a job to do, and I've picked the team. I've picked the squad that for me is going to cover all of the bases that I want.
Has he left anyone out that you'd have taken?
See, I would have asked that question slightly differently.
Go on.
Yeah.
I would have put him on the spot. You are the England manager. You are just about to select your 26.
We haven't got time for 26.
No. But Morgan Gibbs White, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, do they make it?
No.
All three?
Probably the position. If I'm looking at covering all bases, I think potentially in the left back position. So maybe Hall up at Newcastle, who I think is
a good player.
Yeah.
I think is a really good. Reminds me of Shaw.
Yes.
A bit, you know, stature, and so probably in that area, I think that sort of natural left-footed.
Left-sided, left-footed, yeah.
Left-footed. So I think that's probably the ones. Who are the others you said?
But you've got no qualms about Cole Palmer not going. Performances haven't been great.
I don't think his performances did warrant him going. I'm
No.
with Chris. I wouldn't have picked him.
Morgan Gibbs White, whose performances have been good to a level.
Yeah, but then he plays in the 10.
I'm
Bellingham
I'm asking
plays-
Chris,
okay,
and
I'm
you're
just saying.
Yeah, I hear you.
I agree with what he said.
And the last one, Phil Foden, which is very much in
I
there.
think, but always England are in a wonderful position where we're talking about players that haven't gone. I don't know. Maybe in Spain and France and so there are similar questions and so. But I haven't heard so much.
No.
France, Spain.
No, you're right.
And
Germany,
I think
Holland
you're
and
absolutely
so-
right. If you look at Spain, France and Brazil, they've all left players that other people would have taken to the World Cup. They've left them at home. And I think the when you look at a good squad, there are players on the bench that you would imagine would ordinarily walk into the team. The fact, I remember when we didn't have a decent left back. I remember when we didn't have a decent striker. I remember when we'd get prayer mats out for David Beckham or Michael Owen if they even broke a fingernail.
Yeah.
Because we thought, well, who's going to supply the crosses or who's going to score the goals? You know, Alan Shearer, if he got injured, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And that was in a time when we had Ferdinand, Cole, Wrighty, Sheringham. You know, we had fantastic players, and we still worried about what we would do if we didn't have David Beckham. So I think that
always the question is that when you're asked a question like that, always the question is, okay, well, who would you leave out?
Yeah.
And that's that I think has become the easier way around that, because you have to leave somebody out.
Yeah.
To fit someone in.
And what he has is that there's no doubt that he's looked at a balance of that squad. And probably, if I'm looking at around that balance, it's probably only Spence that can play either side, I suppose. O'Reilly knows he can slip into midfield.
I would have taken Trent. That's the only player I look at who's left out, and I think I can't make a case for not taking him because he plays for a world-class team. He's a world-class player who gives you world-class delivery.
Yeah.
He can play in midfield as well as on the right, obviously the right full-back. He gets up the pitch for an offensively minded team. And it kind of leads me on to the next question, which is, you were an international head coach, and you did do that thing of going around the grounds and sitting up in the stands, and the camera pans on you, and you're sitting there with your stylish glasses and your coat on, your Louis Vuitton or whatever.
No Louis Vuitton. That was the fella sitting next to me.
What are you looking for when you're in that stand? I've always wanted to ask a head coach, when you are in that stand and you're looking at a player, a Ghanaian player or whatever of that nation, what are you looking for that says tick next to that player's name or line through that player's name?
Well, I think what you are looking for, to go back on the question, is probably 80% of what you're looking for you already know.
Right.
So when you go and I'll just give you an example. When I was at Brighton, I signed Pascal Gross, and arguably
Best signing.
probably my best signing I think with all the clubs that I've been at. Wow. The fact that
That's a big call.
That is, I was going to say that's a big call.
All the clubs you've been at Spurs, you've been at Norwich,
Newcastle.
But I'm talking about as manager. That and probably because I'll go back to the original question. I went to see him twice.
Right.
And first time I went to see him playing in Germany. I wasn't sure. Technically, he was good.
Yeah.
Both feet. But obviously coming into the Premier League, the pace of the game and so on, and for those that obviously know, Pascal is not the quickest.
Yeah.
And the first time I wasn't sure. I knew about the technical side. I'd heard about his mentality. He worked. There's no doubt. Not the most physical. And I went to see him again. And when I saw him again, then by that time I'd also watched a lot of video of him as well. And I was more convinced, absolutely more convinced. And by the time I'd signed him, then I knew he'd be good for us. And he ended up being brilliant for us.
Yes,
he ended up at 32 years of age getting his first German cap.
Call up.
And he's a big part of the German squad. So that is a circumstance. The other circumstance is when you're looking
Can I just stop you for a second? What was it that you saw that convinced you to sign him?
I think it's the technical part I knew. Good on his left foot and his right foot. Good on the ball. Comfortable on the ball. But it was his work rate. His work rate, you could... I knew he was a good professional.
Yeah.
I'd been told that. But how he conducted himself on the pitch, and these are the things you have to see, and you have to see live. And big runner. I knew that I wanted to play him as a sort of an 8/10, probably more as a 10, because being Brighton's first time in the Premier League, I knew that I couldn't get away with playing two up front.
No.
So I needed a 10 that could drop back into midfield. So I knew he would suit us.
So when you are a head coach and you're looking at players, like I say, in the stands, or you're going scouting for a club, you have an idea in your head of the way that you want to play, and you're looking for players to fit into that system.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and I mean, one thing that's always spoke about with managers is do you, when you're looking at a player, do you play a shape and a system of playing to suit the players that you've got, or is it the other way round? My experiences are it's very much the other way round.
Right.
Because when a manager goes into a football club, generally they have a way of playing. So for as much as Guardiola, as much as you can talk about everything tactical about what he does and you know the influence he's had on fullbacks, inverted fullbacks, his wide players, his nines dropping and whatever, you know, predominantly he'll play a 4-3-3. Klopp at Liverpool, in effect, was was always 4-3-3.
4-3-3.
You never saw him play a back three.
No.
Pep never plays a back three. So generally, when you go into a club, is that this is a system that you want to play, and the players, you want players that are adaptable enough to play
Exactly, yeah.
in your system, and generally that's the case. And I know some, Amron at United is probably one that's been highlighted more than any other one. But it's highlighted there, but at Crystal Palace it's not so highlighted because it's a system that's worked really, really well.
Yeah, he's played it well.
So I think generally that's what happens, is that you are a manager, this is the way that you want to play.
You're going to play.
Players will adapt to your system.
So Tuchel would have had a system, and he would have looked to Troy's point. He would have said which players fit into this system that I want to play. The only intangible is, you mentioned mentality. How do you know about a player's mentality? How do you find out? Who do you talk to that you trust that will give you good information? Because, for example, when Jordan Henderson was called up for England, people said, what's he going for? But right from the start, I got the sense that Tuchel knew what he was doing with someone who was experienced, who was a leader, and was someone who was going to give the right messages in the dressing room. But a lot of people didn't get that.
I think generally you can. There are so many things at our disposal now. Perhaps back in the day it was very much about word of mouth, going to see an individual play and getting a feel for this individual, and you can do. If you're watching a game live and you're watching a player for 90 minutes, you can get
There's
a feel.
so much you can get. Yeah,
you can get a feel about how hard does he run. What happens when
They
he's
lose
got
the
these
ball, when
lose
he's
the
got to go the
ball
other
and
way.
he's got to track back. Is he going to track back? What happens when a bad decision goes against him? Is he throwing his arms up in the air? Is he getting on with? So you can gauge.
So you're saying you wouldn't sign Mo Salah? Is that what you're saying?
I would have signed him every day of the week.
For the other thing that he does, yeah.
But even on the Mo Salah one, people forget his experience at Chelsea and why he didn't stay at Chelsea. And this is just about timing.
Yeah.
Sometimes a player can be at one club, go to another club, and it happens. In that club, it didn't. But going back, you can generally get a feel. But there is so much at our disposal now. That's obviously speaking to people in the game, and that's not just manager to manager. That's technical director to technical director. You can generally get a feel for a player. So it's if I look at what we have now, I'm sure that if I was to ask you about a player and you was to give you an opinion about what you felt about this player, you wouldn't be too far wrong.
Well, lots of people talk about Y-Scout now. A lot of agent clubs, they rely on technical directors, sporting directors. Data, Y-Scout, data. Data against the experience and the evidence of your own eyes. Are you somebody who relies on one or the other, or do they complement each other?
They complement each other. They complement each other, and remember, I came from a club at Brighton that you kept up in the Premier League and laid the foundations for their success. I won't say the rest. No, listen, that I very much appreciate. But I went from Norwich in the Premier League, where at that time we had one analyst on the team and one analyst on recruitment. That's what we had. I went from there to Brighton. We had, I think, 4 or 5 analysts just on recruitment.
Wow.
And this is because of the owner. This is the owner's business. It's and something that the club have done very, very well. But there has to be that combination, because we know that recruitment these days is very much stats and numbers driven. That won't change as regards evaluating a player and a player's strengths and areas of the pitch that he's in, and so. But there are some things that it can't value, and it can't value work ethic. It can't value resilience. It can't value teamwork.
With that in mind, I looked at the Curacao head coach, De Gavica, doing a brilliant job. They qualified 10 games out of 10. They were able to when in qualifying they would have qualified for a 32-team World Cup. That's how good they are. He's 78, and it set me thinking, would Chris Hughton, because you're considerably younger than
Question I asked. I'll set him up for it.
There's no one putting me in that same 78 bracket.
Well, I was going to qualify it by saying you are considerably younger and fitter than
Sorry,
he is.
sorry, I cut you short. You can say that again.
Younger, fitter, more charismatic. Where do I go with that? No, in all seriousness, would you look at, when you see international head coaches with their experience, vast experience, still doing bits, would you look at maybe an opportunity on the international stage again?
Well, firstly, I'll go back to my experience
Sure.
with Ghana, which what I was incredibly proud of was to take the team to African Cup of Nations, which is probably one of the reasons why I took the job. And still to this day, it was a very proud moment. My father's from Ghana, and he was fortunate enough. My father passed 3 years ago, but he was 94, and I was fortunate that he saw me get the job as a national team coach.
Amazing.
So incredibly proud. Would I do
Must
it?
be such an incredible, for you as well as for him, my son, the manager of my country.
Yes.
That you can't put that into words. Can
Well,
you?
you can't. I mean, my dad wasn't the most emotional of men, but I knew what it meant to him. I absolutely. My dad, when I was growing up, my dad had no interest in football at all, no interest. And then, so as the years went on, he started to become. Came to some of the games, but never really went to games. But he became a bit of an expert. And
He enjoyed it.
from his and so he was one of these ones that was incredibly proud. Some might not notice because of how he was. Going back to that international role, I think the reason why I think that a lot of the international coaches are older coaches. I mean, particularly in Africa, you and a lot of the French-speaking coaches, and some of them have managed like 4, 5, 6 of the African teams, and there's almost like a little bit of a sort of merry-go-round.
Well, Hervé Renard he's got a season ticket for the African countries. He seems to be going around all of them, and literally he gets sacked from one country. A few months later, he gets another job. Now they're talking about him for the Tunisia job as well.
Yes.
It's been incredible. So it speaks to what you're saying.
But I think it's a role because in effect it's not a full-time role, and the huge difference between club management and international management is I'll give you a very quick example. So we would when we got together for camp, players would be playing all in Europe, playing on Saturday or Sunday. They would report to camp on the Monday night. We would train on the Tuesday, which would be second day post game on the Tuesday, so you could only do so much. We would train on the Wednesday, which is match day -1, and we'd play on the Thursday. So literally, you've got 2 days. So international football becomes more, unless you are Gareth Southgate or so that's had the team for a long period of time where you've got to know the players, and so it's about picking the right team. It's about game management, which means about substitutions at the right time, motivation of the players before, half time, and so, and it becomes very much about the management of the games as opposed to the preparation.
What do you enjoy most about it?
Of management or international management?
International management.
The games, huge.
Yeah. The occasion.
And the occasion, the atmosphere, and for anybody that's managing an African team, there is a feel, and this is going back to something that you said earlier. One thing that, and I am speaking about African supporters. So, but I'll speak my experiences on Ghana. But this applies to African supporters. is that when you see something, when they see, you know, a Fatal or a Kudus, and they're dribbling, or it's a step over, or they've done something which, you know, us managers would see as a little bit flash or whatever, you know, they are jumping. They love it. They love
noise.
They love the
Yeah,
noise and,
yeah.
and the excitement.
Flamboyancy.
So your average support that will never. I don't think that will ever leave them. You are not seeing that as much now.
Yeah.
We spoke about that earlier because of, I think, how the game has got, how the coaches have got, how the coaches see their teams winning games. You know, a Senegal team at the moment, I mean, when they need to defend,
They'll defend.
They will proper defend, and they've got people in there that will govern that. But the occasion, and we played our games in Kumasi, which is an incredibly vibrant city, and so the atmosphere at the games, that's what I enjoyed the most.
What was your?
Forgive me. Just if Ghana beat England, who'd win? Ghana, that was a Freudian slip, wasn't it?
Yes.
I'll try again. When Ghana play England, who will win?
If you're asking me who should win, England should win with the quality that England have got, and at this moment, Ghana are lacking some individuals. I must admit, they're lacking a little bit of experience at the back. Jiku, who's been a big player in my time, is not involved. Salisu, so these are two experienced ones, and of course Kudus, who gives the team so much. So on paper, England should win. So if you're asking me, that's you know who I think will win the game, I think England will win the game. What's absolutely what Ghana are capable of doing is the unexpected, because they have individuals in the team. Nuamu, who's at Lyon at the moment, unfortunately he's missed a lot of the season. But on the counter-attack, pace, and of course Semenyo, who's having an incredible season. But the team will need for these big players, that they've got to step up, because they are lacking some experience. There's a lot of players that are in the squad that haven't played so many games. So the Ghana team will need to have everything go their way, and to England to have a bad day.
What's your best period in management? What did you enjoy most? What period of time with what club did you enjoy the most?
Oh, that's I'm going to have to split that question. It's Newcastle was my first. That was my first managerial role, and that was my introduction in the deep end of management, not coaching, in management, because I had to manage a team of men with big characters. So there was no doubting about the ability that we had in the squad, but it was about the motivation for this group of players that have been used to playing at the top level, of playing in the championship and fighting to get out of the championship.
Is it true that at the start of that season, once Newcastle had been relegated, you called the players together and you said, listen, I know some of you want moves and some of you don't have the appetite to play in the championship. If you want to go, go.
Partly. No, and listen. I know. I'll be very honest with you. We had a pre-season where it was a real mixed pre-season. A lot of it because the owner at the time was looking to sell.
Yeah.
So we would train every day, go into the canteen afterwards, and obviously everybody's watching the television, Sky Sports and so on. And every day it was somebody else that was going to be
Going to take the club.
Really?
So we were having it all the time. So.
Sorry, every day it was someone else who was going to buy the club or be sold?
No, that was going to buy the club.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So that was our only way around that one is to concentrate on the training. So concentrate on the training, concentrate on the players that we had. But we knew that were players that wanted to go. So I never mind saying this, and I'm very open about this one. Is that Stevie Harper, the goalkeeper, Kevin Nolan. my captain at the time, who was a brilliant captain, came to me and said, we'd like to have a players meeting. So what was determined was that, you know, I wouldn't be in that meeting. And that was me. And I think it might even been me that
suggested it. Yeah.
That no, I think that that meeting should be just for the players.
Right.
Because then what that allowed them to do is that if I'm in that meeting,
No one speaks their mind.
then maybe nobody speaks their mind. But if I'm not, then what we wanted to get out of that meeting was a determination of who wanted to stay and fight and who wanted to go. And that's what happened, and it was determined. Some players then ended up moving on, but I ended up having a group of players that
really wanted to be there.
Really wanted to be there, and momentum's a huge thing in football, and because we started that season well, then that led on to the next game and the next game, and of course we ended up getting promotion.
I always love the insight. So as a result of that meeting, do the players come to you, or the captain Kevin come to you and say, these players say they want out, and you get a list of the players, you give that to the chairman or the sporting director, they begin that process of offering those players to other clubs? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree. I mean, what I can't say is that I can't say that you know, every single player. It was as simple as that. I can't say every single player that wanted to go. Then there was a particular list.
Yes,
and
yes.
so, but I think what the important thing for me was to get a feel of who wanted to stay and who didn't. And of course, I was having them conversations with the owner at the time and the CEO at the time. So we were already having them conversations.
Yes.
And remember, around about that time, even without that meeting, you know, there would have been some players that would have been going to the board and saying, "Listen, I want to get away," or, as we know, not them, their agents.
Their agents, yeah.
Their agents would have been speaking to the sporting director to say. So the significance of that meeting was that it was the bond between myself and the players, and particularly for those that wanted to stay, a little bit of clarity, and it allowed us to move on.
Yeah.
And some players left, some players did leave, but the ones that stayed, they certainly knuckled down
And the point of that is that you pulled off another of the great returns, instant returns to the Premier League with a squad of committed players that I don't think you've never really had the credit you deserve for. A lot of people, and because I've known you for a long time, Troy's known you for a long time, you're very mild-mannered, you'll never shout from the rooftops about it. But that Newcastle team was a basket case. It really was, I'll be real.
You don't have to say that, by the way, Chris. Let him say it.
Well, no, I wouldn't put it that way. But there certainly were, you know, things that I had to keep quiet, and things that tested your managerial skills.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about.
But that was that good though, because like you said, it's your first introduction to management at a massive club, by the way. Was it good that you were thrown all those curveballs and had to deal with it and had to juggle, you know, the expectation more than anything else?
Well, put it this way, you know, I done a long apprenticeship as a coach.
Yeah.
Before I went there, you know, if I'd gone almost straight from playing into a year's coaching and then that role, it would have been incredibly difficult for me. But having said that, you know, what hides a multitude of difficulties is winning games.
Yeah.
And so the things that you have to keep quiet, the things you have to sort of turn a blind eye to, so, you know, you can do that if it's in the best interests and you're winning games.
Yeah.
Because we all know when you're not, then, you know,
Pressure starts.
Pressure starts, public eye, and so I was fortunate. I had a really good group of players that wanted to be there, and it was my first managerial role.
You said you were going to split it, so you've given us the Newcastle side. What are you splitting it with?
If I'm looking at the best, but I mean, I then went to Birmingham, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I was at Birmingham for 1 year. we were
Got to the
fortunate.
playoffs, didn't we? Yeah.
Well, we got to the playoffs. Not only got, well, you know, of course,
Yeah.
we not only got to the playoffs, but because Birmingham had won the League Cup the season before,
That's right.
we was also playing in Europe. So it was a brilliant season, and I still have Birmingham supporters
Message you.
coming up to me now on that European campaign that went to some of the European games,
Brilliant.
hearing songs that they hadn't heard for years and years.
Yeah.
So that was a brilliant year. I left there. It was the only club that I left to go to Norwich. We had 2 years in the Premier League. First year, finishing 11th in the Premier League. We actually jumped. We jumped 5 places on the last game of the season.
Wow.
We were in 16th place, beat Man City. Johnny Howson
I remember that game, yeah.
scored the goal. Beat Manchester City and finished in
Climbed 5 places.
jumped 5 places on the last. And then, of course, Brighton. Brighton was.
Yeah.
Now, look, you've got a wide frame of reference. You've managed lots of different clubs: Tottenham, Norwich, as I mentioned before, Birmingham, Newcastle. Have I missed any out? Have I missed any out?
No, I think that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Don't look at me.
Well, I can tell you now: Newcastle, Birmingham, Norwich, Brighton, Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham Forest,
There you
yeah.
go. There you go. The reason I mention all those clubs is because obviously you're talking about tens and thousands of men, fans, but obviously including a contingent of men who will really have resonated at your experience when you were diagnosed with prostate cancer. And yours is a really positive story, but I thought of it recently when Kevin Keegan revealed he had been diagnosed with it. Kenny Dalglish was very open about it as well. John Barnes has had it as well. Just tell us your story.
Yeah, well, as you said, mine's a very positive one. This was actually my time at Brighton, and being part of the League Managers Association. Then we have our regular health check every year, which is available to us. It doesn't mean everybody has it, and I know some managers, when I've spoken to, they've missed a year or so, and during one of the blood tests, it showed that my PSA level was slightly raised.
For those people who don't know what a PSA level, just explain.
It's well, a PSA level it's a blood test that's prostate specific antigen. So it's about the amount of cells that are in the blood test that shows at a level. So so to be clear, so on my on my sort of experience, my level was 3.2. So what they told me at the time is that anything over 3 goes into a big sort of grey area.
Yeah.
So I had a scan done, a blood test scan done, which proved okay. So which was negative. But what did happen from them was that I've monitored it. So I've had a PSA test at least every 6 months in the last 9 years. What's happened in recent years is that level has risen, and obviously once that level rises, it's an indication. It doesn't mean, so for anybody that has a high PSA, it doesn't mean that it's cancerous.
Right.
It doesn't mean, and the exact same way as somebody that has, particularly prostate problems, going to the toilet a lot or not able to go to the toilet, that doesn't mean it's prostate cancer. But it's an indication, and it gives the doctors obviously something to work at, and also, of course, to have an X-ray and scan. So then I had a scan last year, another scan, and my level had gone to 9.7, which sounds high, but for some people that I've spoken to, it can go really high, and it's not cancerous. So, but it's an indication. It had gone to 9.7, had another scan done, and it turns out it was cancerous. So the good news is that it was caught early enough, where the cancer was specifically in the prostate and in the core of the prostate. So I was able to have, a month later, I had the operation, so I had my my prostate removed, and I'm good. And I've had since then 4 PSA tests. All of them have been 0.
Brilliant.
And I have my next one in about 3 weeks' time.
Fantastic.
So the message is, and I've had incredible support. A lot of people have got hold of me and messaged me and so on. And the things I am finding is that somebody messaged me a little while ago, somebody that I've known, not so well, but I knew, and he said he was diagnosed 2 years ago at 63 years of age and had his first PSA test at 63 years of age. So, and that's very much about education.
Yeah.
It does affect black men twice as much as it does
Any other demographic.
Any other demographic. So it's something that of course over the last couple of years I've become far more knowledgeable about. Doing some work for Prostate Cancer UK, and it's about getting that message out.
And first of all, thank God that has been so positive. When a room full, you might not be able to see this at home, but when a room full of crew of men who are affected by exactly what Chris is talking about, and regular checks, as you were saying, are so important in order to be able to stay on top of this.
Yes, I think on the education, and I say I'm learning all the time, but Prostate Cancer UK do a great job. What I know what they've been pushing for through the government is about screening for men once they get to a certain age, which is there have been some barriers to it, but there are continually some breakthroughs. But it's there are probably 3 areas. One is very much your family background, whether there's been prostate cancer in the family. Age, over 50, and of course ethnicity.
Yeah. Can I ask, was there any anxiety when the doctor sits you down and says?
No. I must admit, I wasn't scared. I think for some maybe it's a little bit different. I think probably because I knew that my PSA was increasing over these years, so it wasn't.
So you'd prepared yourself.
So the best way was it a shock? Yes, I suppose. But was it a surprise? No, because it had been building and it had been getting higher. So I knew there was a chance. I knew there was a chance that when I saw the doctor, he was going to tell me.
He was going to say.
I mean, I'll be frank. I know.
But it's not something, I must admit. And maybe something to do with my personality. But it wasn't something that scared me. I must admit, I've had good advice right the way through, and I'm in a really good place. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, great point to change gear and ask you a little bit more about the World Cup. We'll round off with a few questions about the World Cup because we've gone from being really poignant to probably being a little bit frustrated. Hydration breaks, ad breaks, really.
Yes.
But what do you think of them?
Do I like them? No, I don't. But I think it's the same with a lot of what we're seeing in football now. So
does it break your heart to see that?
No.
We have grown up, and you've been in the game for 50 years, watching the game as it should be in its pure form, and then suddenly we're watching 4 quarters instead of 2 halves. I mean, it just seems as though that. I'm going to rant.
Well, no, but I think probably it's so if I'm looking at it from a manager's point of view, so I'm at the World Cup, I'm managing whoever, and that water break comes,
and you need it.
It's maybe I don't want it because we've got really good momentum, and it's not that hot a day, and so maybe we need it. So they're the variables.
That's actually a good point, and I'm interrupting you a lot because I want to squeeze all these questions. I want to milk every little bit of having your hit on the show. So forgive me. I know the crew are going crazy.
Lucky you had that coffee then, wasn't it?
The crew are going crazy, but I've got to get as much information out of Chris as I can. I watched the Germany-Curacao game, and I know on one of our other shows this was a point that was made. Curacao scored a goal, and they are in the ascendancy.
Yes.
And had there not been a water break, suddenly, who knows, they could have pushed home that advantage, scored a second goal, and then we're looking at a huge, you're talking Algeria against West Germany, 82, right? Well, that's a scale of upset we're talking about. But instead, there's a water break. And as a head coach, if you're the Germany head coach, you're delighted with that, right?
Yes, but the bigger picture, is that am I frustrated with it? Yes, I am. You know, would I prefer, as a manager and a football fan and everything that goes with it, football person, and so, would I prefer we did without the water? Absolutely. But I think in any aspect of football that there has to be acceptance levels. So the same frustration that you're having for a water break is the same frustration when the goalkeeper goes down.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper goes down or the left back goes down. In your head, you're thinking he's not really injured.
Yeah.
And so,
But that's the point, isn't it? Because I think people say, they brought these new laws in to say you cannot get coached from the sidelines if your keeper goes down, right? And everyone says, isn't that great? Clap, clap, clap. But then they bring a water break in. So you're losing the same time you would have lost had the goalkeeper gone down. Because what happens during those ad breaks, the players get coached on the sidelines. And the managers use it as an opportunity, as you've been saying, as you're delighted by, you know, you've got the opportunity to be able to say, you're letting your winger get free, or you're letting your creative midfielder get between the lines. You've got to get tighter to
but I
him,
think it's the same as aspects of our game with VAR. You have to accept what it is. So you know there's a water break.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, they're just throwing one in because it's a hot day or so. You know that water break's coming. It frustrates you when you're in the ascendancy, and you are delighted when you're not. The same way as the player goes down or a goalkeeper goes down, there's an injury. These are the things you have to accept. I think we all know the reason, or a big reason why. What's behind the water breaks, and it is to do with, because and even talking about World Cup, and I remember being in USA in 1990. 94. With I'd finished by then. I remember going to watch two of the Irish games, and that was almost as hot as one I'd been to. I was involved in Italy 90, which was another one. So, you know, there were periods of time when we didn't have. And I've got a feeling that 94 might have been the start of the thought of water breaks.
I think so, yeah.
You're right.
And I think it was probably looking at Jack Charlton. Jack Charlton on the side of the pitch with that sort of hanky round the wonderful Jack Charlton.
Well, the thing is,
I would have to say.
It happened in the Belgium game in Egypt when Lukaku came on goal, not his goal, whatever, but picked up the ball and ran straight to the sideline because they were going to have a hydration break. And if you want to talk about momentum completely gone, it was at that moment.
But I think with all of us, would we prefer it? I absolutely would prefer not. Absolutely, we've been brought up on 45 minutes. Is there going to be some extra time? You know, we got to the stage, and this is how some things change. You know, the season before last, we had a period of time where I remember at the start of the season where they were putting 8 minutes on the end.
11 minutes. And
then for some reason that changed
very quickly, didn't it?
So I think with all of these, you've not got to like them, but you've got to work around these systems and accept what it is and use it to your benefit when you
as much as you can.
Much as you can.
Yeah.
I've got 4 quick fire questions to round off with. Okay. Here they are. Is this the most open World Cup for years?
Yes.
What do you see as
although it's no, I think yes. Who will win it? It will be one of the favourites that win it. It will be one of the big boys that wins it.
You still don't think it'll be any kind of upset?
I think it's the most open. You know, we've spoke about Senegal, who I think are a really good team. Morocco, I think, are a really good team. They're probably the ones there may be
That
just
could,
that just
yeah.
the sort of outsiders. But I still think that when it comes to, particularly when there are so many teams, and so when it comes to the quarter-final stages, the semi-final stages, and the final, it's going to be one of the big ones.
Powerhouses.
Yeah.
Who wins, England or Croatia?
England.
Okay. What do you see as the minimum requirement for England?
Semi-final.
Why semi-final, by the way?
No, because only.
It's supposed to be quick fire.
No, well, I know it's quick fire. No, I think semi-final because we are. There's no doubt we're talking about England as one of the favourites.
Yes, of course.
But I think it would be fairly sort of arrogant to
Suggest they could go.
suggest
yes,
that
yes.
no, they can win it. England can win it. There's no doubt about that. But there are. There are probably three teams that would be favourites ahead of England,
of course.
potentially, particularly where it is, and particularly. So I think it's just not wanting to sound arrogant. So I'd say semi-final.
Should we be worried? But who are the threats that we should be worried about within the Croatian team?
Well, he's put me on the spot there, hasn't he?
Well, no, the reason I asked because I thought you were going to say, if you think about it, their best players are quite aging. Kramaric, Modric.
Well, this is why I think even on an England team and picking an England team, and I thought you might have asked me about the centre halves, about whether it's Stones. Well, for me, probably a game against Croatia. I think you're able to get away with. I mean, probably from if you look at the centre halves that we've got, mobility. John Stones has got good mobility, but it wouldn't be the quickest. I think against a Croatian team is an area that you can get away with a little bit. Ghana certainly have got pace and attack.
So you couldn't play Stones
well, no, you could do, but meaning that they'll certainly be up against a pacier attack and a counter-attacking style with Ghana and Panama. I think more power and pace. I think in them games. So I think probably the Croatian game is the game that I think you can get away with a little bit. If we're looking at a decision at the back, obviously quality and of course pace.
Would you have taken any of the players, and how do you feel more broadly about the players not wanting to declare for the African nations, and then suddenly those nations get to an AFCON, get to a World Cup, and those Premier League players saying, I quite fancy that, I think I'll declare. John Obiangkel gets really angry about it and says that now they should bring in laws to prevent that happening. Do you think that's too far?
That's too far. It's too far, and generally it's about relationships. I personally, I think when somebody has consistently turned down playing for your country, we say whatever. So you was born in England and you have an opportunity to play for one of the African teams or and you've consistently sort of turned it down. Then I think I would be the same as a lot of individuals that would feel a little bit aggrieved when they chose to play because of a particular reason, because of a World Cup, because of a Euros or so. But it's about relationships that you have and keeping in contact with them relationships. I've also been of the mind that it's difficult to understand. It's difficult to understand that when somebody has been brought up in the country. So if I think the easiest example would be for somebody that's been born in England, brought up in England, with very much an English football culture, and then has an opportunity to play for the country of their parents. That for most it doesn't come so natural.
No.
And I think it's understandable that they would want to play, or that they might want to play for the country where they were born. And we've experienced that not only in England, but if I look at the Ghana team, players born in France, players born in Germany. Some have decided to play for Ghana, some haven't. So I understand that. where I feel a little bit aggrieved is where that process has dragged on, and then all of a sudden, because of a World Cup or because of a Euros, he now
Just
wants.
moved along. Yeah.
He now wants. So I think that's frustrating, but it's part and parcel of the game. And of course, as a coach, you want the best players.
Last one.
104 games at the World Cup. Do you think you'll be watching over 100?
No. I think I shall be watching a lot of highlights, and only because it's. I think even for somebody that's been in the game as long as what I have, it's incredibly excessive to be able to watch that volume of game. And I know that I think for those that do, one, I think you've got to be absolutely fanatical, and two, probably more importantly, it's your job.
Yeah.
I think if you are in the media, if you're some that are going to be asked questions on this team, and progression, you've got to be able to watch as many games as possible.
Absolutely.
90 minutes you can't.
So you've
certainly packages.
You've got your PJs on. Yeah. What World Cup final would you like to see before you go to bed?
Oh.
God, I tell you, that one's putting me on the spot. Well, the fact that I've been brought up here in England, and my football background is very much here. I'd love to see a final Ghana v England.
If Troy buys you dinner, will you come back later in the series, later on in the World Cup?
I'd love that.
That'd be
I
fantastic.
know you're a cheap date, so we can
Yes.
do that.
Okay.
We would love it too.
Well, there's a lovely chicken shop just down the road, opposite the stadium.
He's got it all. He's got it there.
Opposite the stadium.
Yeah, that would be a dream World Cup final, wouldn't it? Either way, we hope that you are back with us again. It's been terrific to have Troy here. More importantly, it's been terrific to have Chris here on the show. We hope you look at Troy.
More importantly.
All right, I'll do that again.
No, just follow through.
I'm leaving that. That was so good.
It's been terrific to have them both here. And also you as well. We look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.